Okay. I got it ready. Oh, not going anywhere. Just stand right here. Just stand right here.
don't do this. Hey, Jen, I'm going to close out and come back in to see if that cures the block on my video.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Oh, this is frustrating. I'm going to play with this for a little bit.
Okay, is it you can't get your video to work?
Hi, Mary. I got a little silly question. Can you come on for a second?
Sure.
On the second page of the, payables,
Uh-huh.
down under Parks and Rec, there's like two listings for Timberline porta potties. Why are there two instead of just one altogether? It's about a hand's width up from the bottom of the page on page 2 under Parks and
I
Rec.
think that's probably a coding error. The 181 belongs to Road and Bridge, and I can fix that.
I don't know that it's wrong or right or anything. I just
No,
wondered why
I
there were
believe
two
it's
lines.
wrong. That should be up. The 181 should be up with Road and Bridge. It's just a coding error. I typed in a 5 instead of a 0.
That makes sense. Cool. I just wondered because it seemed silly to have two lines that,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool
I'll
beans.
fix that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, but you're invisible.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm having trouble with it. It's been giving me fits at other Zoom meetings, and it says my camera is tied up with some app that I cannot find. So
Cool. I need to apologize for missing the one on the 28th. I was away from home and I started my laptop up, and it started this bizarre long load, and it took like, after 15 minutes, I said, okay, this isn't cool. Shut it off, started it up again. Same thing happened. I finally had to do one of those hard stops where I pulled the battery and unplugged it. And then when I started up, I finally got back online. But by that point, it was like probably 6:45. And then I couldn't find a link to get into the meeting, the number. And I finally remembered that there was one in last Friday or the Friday before's, which was on Wednesday because of Christmas. But the little newsletter that Jen puts out for us. And I really like that, by the way. But anyway, it kept saying, no, you can't go in as a participant or something. And I just went, what? And anyway, it took me about, I'm going to say, an hour and a half to get it to work, by which point you guys were all gone.
Hey, Deanne.
Yeah.
If that happens again to you, just for an FYI, enter the code that's on the back of the agenda is for a attendee.
Ooh,
so if you get into it, then we promote you to be a panelist. If you get
cool.
into it that way, just so you know.
Yeah, I was just trying to get something I could click on to get here. And it just, it kept saying, no, you're a bad dog. Go away. I think I'm going to go get a Christmas sticker and put it over the square where Lynette is. So I got a little happy snowman.
but the squares move, don't they?
Yeah, well, there is that too. Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Yay.
Hi there, Mary.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Ah, you're playing my game.
And I'm not enjoying it either.
Hey, Dan, Happy New
Giving me
Year.
fits. Have you ever had this happen? Well, I don't know what's going, it tells me, it gives me an error message that there's some app that's tying up my, my video, and it won't let me turn it off and on. So, but I can't figure out what the app is. So
Who's yelling at you in the background? Oh, that's probably,
it's not in my background.
no, that was somebody else. Yeah, that's the issue that I frequently have, but I don't have a good resolution for that either yet. I just keep my
Okay.
fingers crossed each time I sign in. I want to be like Rich.
Rich, what happens if they sell them?
What happened to what?
What happens if they go ahead and sell the Broncos? How does that mess with you?
If they go ahead and sell the Broncos, I'm trying to get the family to give us $10 million to endow the club. So that way we would just operate off of the interest. So I've talked to a couple of the Broncos folks. It's the first time I ever asked anybody for 10 million. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What's the worst they can say is no.
Did you have a hard time keeping a straight face?
Think positive. Did PJ say yes the first time you asked her?
She had no choice, Mary, because I didn't tell her where she was going that morning. I picked her up. We lived in Miami Beach. I drove north about an hour and a half, and we stopped at a Mr. Donut. And
She thought she was
what
being
are we doing
kidnapped.
today? Are we going to Orlando? What are we doing? Nope. I said, we're going up in those. And it was a hot air balloon in a basket.
Aw.
Proposed to her at 1,200 feet. It was like, say yes or fly, baby. Okay.
And you've lived happily ever after.
Smooth, just smooth.
You had that music, Fly Me to the Moon, by, who was that?
Oh,
Steve
no.
Martin or Frank
Not on a
Sinatra
hot
or
air balloon.
Michael Bublé. All right, we're having way too much fun here. It's going to be time to start soon.
Yeah. Another minute or so.
It's going to be a little nutty for me tonight, guys. I'm at the front desk and there's 150 kids here.
Wow.
Okay.
But we're using some of the rooms. 18 kids are doing mock interviews. They're getting ready for our Youth of the Year contest. So all the
all right.
quiet places are taken right now.
Okay. And I'm frozen.
Steve, you changed your name.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of an issue with that because they've been the last couple times she's been slipping my middle initial over to my last name.
Oh,
It's okay with me because truthfully, when I send out the emails for all these candidates, a lot of them email me back and call me Mr. Garabi and then contact me later to apologize, and I let them know it's okay.
Hey, it fixed.
Oh,
Yep,
there you go.
yep. So Jerry isn't here yet, but I think we'll go ahead and get started. Let me start by saying I apologize but I do not have video tonight. I cannot get it to work. So I don't have a flag image for us to start the meeting to do the Pledge of Allegiance, but I think we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance anyway. So I would like to call the meeting of the Town of Georgetown Board of Selectmen to order. It is January 11th, 2022. And it is 6:01 p.m. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
the
to the
flag
flag
of the
of
United
the
States
United
of
States
America
of America
and to the
and
republic
to the
for which it
republic for
stands,
which it stands,
one
One
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
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 indivisible,
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 with
with liberty and
justice
justice.
liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next, we'll do roll call. I am Police Judge Lynette Kelsey. Rob Connell. I don't see here. Not yet. Deanne Powell.
Ward 1.
John Jennings.
Here.
Paul Hingen.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Mary Smith
Here,
and Rich Barrows.
Here.
Thank you. Okay. Agenda approval. Does anybody have anything to add or change on the agenda for tonight?
When would somebody put in an item if they wanted to? Like, should it be notified to Jennifer way ahead of time so it can be in our packets?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If it's an action item that you're proposing, if you're just
I'm
wanting
concerned
to,
about one of the streets and it just seems like we need to talk about it maybe.
well, why don't you run it by Steve?
Okay.
Maybe tomorrow, and he can, I think you're meeting with
The HGLP, yeah.
Scott. No, I'm not talking about, so I think Steve normally has a staff meeting on Wednesdays, and that could be brought up pretty quickly if you get a hold of him.
Well,
Or
if
send him.
or Dan, you can just email me because my staff meeting's going to be next Tuesday at 10 o'clock, so I can bring
Oh,
it
okay.
in then.
Okay.
I do have an issue with regard to a street matter that I'm going to bring up during my administrator's report if everybody
Okay.
forgets to remind me, and maybe that'll take care of what Deanne had talked about. I don't know. We'll just see.
Possibly.
Anyway.
Okay.
make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second, John.
Hi, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Do we have any? We didn't have any attendees, so that I see. So probably no audience business tonight. Okay. Moving on. Next, we have the payables. The payables that we have before us tonight are from December 24th, 2021 through January 6th, 2022. Any questions or comments on the payables?
It's on page 2, just a question. What is the Clear Creek peer support team that we are paying money on? The very top item on page 2.
That
Education
is
training.
right. That's for the police department, and I'm not sure what it entails, but it is an annual payment. I don't know, Randy probably, well, Randy's not on, but could explain
I'll
more.
ask Randy.
Okay,
That's okay.
thank
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the payables?
I move to approve the payables 12/24/2021 to 1/5/2022.
1/6/20.
Oh, sorry, 1/6.
Is there a different date?
No, it's
Nope,
bad
it is
eyesight
1/6.
on my part.
Second.
All right,
Second.
it's been
Second.
moved in. Hi there. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the payables from December 24th, 2021 through January 6th, 2022 as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next we have the minutes from our December 28th, 2021 meeting. Any comments or corrections to those minutes? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Go Mary.
I was trying to watch your eyes. I move to accept the minutes from December 28th, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the December 28th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and welcome.
And
Aye,
welcome.
Rob.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Next, we have resolution number 1, 2022. A resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, designating public places for the posting of notices concerning town of Georgetown public meetings. And this is something we do annually, first meeting of every year. And did you have anything to add, Steve or Jerry? Or Jennifer?
No, it's required by statute. And so it's something we always do in the first meeting or two of each year.
And as the resolution states, those are the 2 official places. There are other places that we can post notice, which we do on the website, and we could do at the library, various places, but those are the 2 official places. So.
Deanne has her hand raised, Lynette.
Can you
Okay.
see us, Lynette, or is it completely gone?
No, I can see you guys,
Okay.
except I can't see everyone on the same, I have
Okay.
to,
I
run back
think
and
we need
forth.
to get a place that's off of 6th Street, because every place, the library, the town hall, and the post office are all
Right.
within the same couple blocks. Can we put something down at the market or one of the places down on the lake or something? Because it just seems like we should be making it as convenient as possible for everybody instead of just the people that go on 6th Street.
It's also posted
Well,
on the
that's-
website though, for this resolution, so that opens it up to anyone.
Right, and the idea behind posting everything at the post office is we all get our mail at the post office, so people are in there. They're going to be on 6th Street at the post office when they pick up their mail, and that way they can see these. There's nothing wrong with posting it other places, but I'm not sure, does the market actually have some place that would be a good place to post these kinds of
They've got a
notices, or?
public bulletin board.
I think one of the concepts you have to remember is that if we're making an official posting place, then we also have to make sure that whatever we posted is maintained and guarded, as it
Right.
would be in the post office or the library or here at town hall. So if you start to go out into private businesses, it becomes more problematic, especially if it is considered an official posting place. So it's one
True.
thing to do water notices like we did in Burlington or boil orders or something like that, where you want a good public dissemination, but that's not because it's required for posting.
Right. As previously stated, we're not precluded from posting things at other places, but these two are the official ones that we've had ever since I've been on the board.
I just think we need to go out of our way to let people know.
I think we
For
have to
official purposes, I think we've got ourselves covered. So, would somebody like to make a motion? I
Yeah,
believe there's one in
I'll
here.
make a motion on resolution number 1, series 2022, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, designating public places for the posting of notices concerning town of Georgetown public meetings.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 1, series 2022. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I still think we need more.
Was that,
That's a no.
thank you. 16. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have the consultant agreement with Cindy Neely. Steve, do you want to present that and we'll get some input from Cindy since she's joined us?
Yeah. Basically, this is the professional service contract that you've had with Cindy before. And we've merely just changed the dates to reflect the fact that the contract's effective for this new year, 2022. One change that was made that Lynette and I discussed was that I believe that Cindy was making $42 an hour. She had made a request for $45 an hour, but also let us know that she's being paid $60 an hour for the county. So Lynette and I decided and felt it was well worth it because the maximum amount that can be spent on her contracted services without prior approval of the board is still $10,000. So we did increase it to the $50 an hour, which I think is a pretty good bargain. So I would suggest, as I did in my report, that you approve this contract with Cindy and allow me and authorize me to sign it tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Okay, all right. Cindy, thank you so much for all you do. Did you have anything to say?
Not about this item, but a lot about the next one.
Okay, very good, very good. I did have a question about the dates under number 3. Was that intentional to make it dated today's date, or did we want to back it up to the 1st? Because I know Cindy attended a workshop last week for the grant that she's working on.
Oh, pro bono work. Oh, what a gracious person. Oh, yeah, most generally we do those type of agreements from the 1st of January to the end of December. And so I didn't question the January 11th date because Cindy's the one to put it in there. But I would suggest if you want to make the motion, or you include it in your motion to amend it back to backdate it back to January 1st, and I'll get her done before I sign the contract.
All right. Any other questions or concerns or comments on the contract? Yes, Deanne.
Okay, if for some reason she hit the limit, does that mean it comes back to the board to vote on, or is that just a dead end and it can't go any higher? Because I think if we increase the hours, we should increase that too, if that's the case.
I think we're all right because you haven't come close to it as of yet. And number two is that doesn't mean it just drops off. It means that there has to be foresight on the behalf of the administrator or Mary Sims watching it to let us know, or Cindy letting us know it gets close. And then we just bring it back to the board and you just amend this document to increase the maximum amount.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just worried that if we were dividing the same amount up by a bigger piece of payout, that it would mean fewer hours. And I like Cindy a lot, but I want her to keep working. you know?
Yes, I agree 100%, but I think we have an out that's acceptable.
I did have one more thing on the last page of the agreement. We've been calling her contractor, and then in her signature line, we call her consultant.
Oh.
And I just want to be consistent.
Yeah, I'll have to change that too, because it's contractor throughout the agreement, even though she isn't a consultant. So, but I will change that. Cool.
Okie doke.
You guys are sharp tonight.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, I believe there's a motion in the packet.
I'll read it. I move to approve the professional services contract with Cynthia C. Neely Consulting, LLC, further authorizing the interim town administrator to sign and set agreement on behalf of the town.
And
With-
backing the date of the agreement back to January 1st, right, Rob?
If we need to prorate it or post date it, that's fine.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consultant agreement with Cindy Neely. Any further discussion?
Can
All
I
in favor?
just ask a question?
Yes, Rob.
Between today and the 1st of January, nothing big happened that I'm agreeing to, right?
She,
We'll never tell.
but some,
You know, I'm just trying to be belt and suspenders. You said we were sharp.
Setting you up.
she did some work for us that we'd love to have her, it be covered under the contract.
Oh, got
So,
it. Okay. Well, then, of course.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I think we're at it's been moved and seconded stage. Any further discussion? And you asked the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. All right, next we move on to the Gateway Grant application from Argentine Street, on Argentine Street from 15th to 22nd Street. And do you want to go ahead and do
would
the
like-
intro, Cindy?
Yes, I would like to present this.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, Rob, grant time is always the first few months of the year. So yes, the last 10 days have been sort of interesting in that department. You know, our master plan, and actually something that we have talked about, but it is a master plan priority action, is to extend the gateway and the elements of the gateway being sidewalk and bike trail and lights, basically, that we have done from 15th Street now to 6th Street, to go in the north, to go from 15th Street to 22nd Street, so that we have, so essentially we tie the town sort of together with that. And it has become slightly more imperative that we think about it after we add 72 apartment houses, 64 townhouses, a 77-room microtel, and a brewery onto a street that is 23 feet and 7 inches wide and has no sidewalks and no place for bikes. And yeah,
It's part of the buyer beware. It's part of the.
that's right. You can get killed here. That's yeah. So what happened was the Revitalizing Main Street program, which is the way we received about $225,000 last year to do a restroom and finish our bikeway. was funded at a very large level as a pass-through of federal funds. Actually, these are ARPA funds, the American, however,
Recovery.
recovery that they're talking these. But they were, $22 million was given to the to Revitalize Main Street programs to consider projects up to $2 million per project. They've already had one round of 22 million. They've got another round of 22 million. And then they think they're going to go back to being a little program of you can ask for 100,000. But right at this moment, they're very interested in safety projects, safety for pedestrians and bicycles. So when that grant, and I think it's in your packet, when that grant announcement sort of came across my desk, because of our previous grants, I got one automatically at the end of December, or right in the middle of Christmas market, actually. And I sort of read it at the time and thought, you know, I think this one could be fairly perfect for trying to do the 15th to 22nd Street for the pedestrians, the bikeways, and the lights. This is not a simple project. This is actually a very complicated project. I ask you to think about it the next time you drive down to the brewery. The sidewalk would go on the east side. The bike trail is on the west side. It would connect up with the bike trail. Essentially, as it continues up, it would get pedestrians and bicycles off the street and make the whole thing safer. So I did. Rich.
Yeah, I drive down that street every day. What are they gonna do with the light poles that are right there lining the street?
Let's get to the technicals here in a minute. because yeah, actually there's only one light pole that has the problem of being in the way of a sidewalk. And there is a light pole that needs to be, you know, where you go through the gates of Lador up there, where you go through the two poles that are on either side of the street. The one on the west side doesn't need to be there at all. Public Service Company has even said they would remove it, but they want $1,500 to remove it. If it is in the way of a public process, of a public project, they have to remove it at their cost, not our cost. So yeah, we've looked. I can't say we've looked thoroughly yet because there are going to be all kinds of little snags. Because no, we don't have an engineered design of this. We know the elements at this point. We don't even have a complete survey of it. So, however, I did attend as Lynette's. Well, first of all, I talked to a couple of people about it, about costs. I spoke with the PSWI survey to get some sense of survey cost. I spoke to Diamondback Engineering, and I went to Clear Creek Technical Services in part because Craig has served as the town engineer for every other piece of the gateway. So as far as getting an estimate, a gross estimate of where we were, I figured that was going to be my best source fairly quickly. So so that's what I've spent the time that Rob's not going to pay me for. That's what I've spent it on in the last 10 days since about January 1st to see whether I thought that we could be actually even ready to reasonably do this. When I attended the pre-application workshop that they did, they're clear. I mean, this would become a local agency project, which means that you get a contract with CDOT, which means that, and it's a federal project, which means you're into all of the federal requirements of projects. But we did that on the last part of the gateway too, also. And so we've seen this routine before. It's not fun, but we know how to do it. So that, and also they know that those things are going to take time. The finish date, if you are lucky enough to get one of those grants, and I'm going to have to say that there will be a fair degree of luck in this, because there were 100 people on that pre-application workshop. That's a lot of people. So, and $22 million is not going to go that far, because that's their pot. But I think that we fit exceptionally well. And I came away from the application thing saying, all right, we meet their criteria. And we're also, as a CDOT local project, they will be involved. We're also their frontage road right there. And we're an important frontage road because we see a lot of traffic when life gets congested on the interstate. A lot of people dive off onto that road. So at this point, what I'm asking you, the estimate, this is $1 million project. Our estimate at the moment is $1,053,688. We've packed it a little bit, maybe, but we'd rather pack it a little bit. The grant, if you receive it, is an 80% grant. It is a 20% match. So I have sat with Mary and said, how could we do this? But your period of time for accomplishing your grant is 4 years. They give you until December of 2026 to get the whole thing done. And what that means, if we were fortunate enough to receive the grant, in 1 year, we're going to end up with survey and design. And in the next year, we're going to end up with starting to build components. So Mary did indicate that she felt if it was over of a couple of years, our capital improvement budget could handle this match, which would be a couple $100,000 of match. To put this in a little perspective, I don't think that it's widely realized how much the rest of the gateway has cost. The section from 15th to 11th was $2.3 million. The roundabout was $1 million. The section from 11th to Loop Drive to 6th was 1.2, the one that we just did. This is a spendy world, and that's why the opportunities aren't great to try to fund it. And so I'm asking whether I should continue to pursue, whether I should write the grant. And if I do, I would come back to you at your next meeting with a resolution, if Gary's going to help out with that, and with a resolution to essentially submit the grant and indicate a willingness to make the match if awarded. But I'm not going to bother.
No brainer.
I'm not going to bother to write and continue to dig it if you folks don't want to pursue.
Okay. All right. Comments from the board. Rob, you said something right at the tail end.
I just think that it's in the best interest of the town.
Okay. Yep. Deanne, please.
I agree it's in the best interest. I want to make sure that we don't end up with another squiggly sidewalk like up on the bicycle end. That looks like some drunk laid it out and it just bothers me. Sorry.
We'll have to plant the trees, but that go in the spaces. Anyway, I can't promise what the design will look like because it's not designed. I can promise you can take a look at the design when it is designed.
Sure. Yep. Anyone else?
I think it's good for the town.
Let's do it.
And I think we should move forward.
Thank you. Mary, did you have something?
Mary, did you freeze?
I
I'm
think
good.
so.
Let's do it. Let's go for it. I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm for it.
Your audio is a
Let's do
little
it.
bit funky, but yes, thank you. Paul, any comments?
Looking at the grant criteria regarding the safety and the situation that we have there, it seems like a very good fit. This project qualifies for this grant is how I see it. And at any time somebody's willing to give us a couple $1 million,
800,000.
I think we should go for it.
Yep. All right. Yes, Rich?
Yeah, it's a safety issue, and I think it's easy to sell it that way. And if you can spread out the funding, we may find other vehicles to help with that, especially if they do some development on the other side of the Bighorn Crossing, like putting in a little strip mall or whatever. They may be able to help foot part of the bill.
Okay. Wonderful. That sounds like unanimous support to me. So,
Cindy, did we ask for enough?
What?
Did we ask for enough?
No, we haven't asked yet, but one of the things they said in this application time is the last time they had 22 million, they gave it to 11 applicants. And what they have made it really clear is they don't feel good about that. They would prefer to be in the under $1 million category. And I understand why, because they're trying to, they would like to be giving out to at least 22 or 25 or 30 applicants. So they're going to look for mid-range projects.
Well, they got to understand that, material costs have, skyrocketed. It's just as cheap as it used to be.
The price of concrete is the determinant factor in this whole thing.
Is that pretty expensive, or is that has that had the same
up
appreciation as lumber and things like that?
Yep, it's just going up like crazy. But that's
so right. They've got to. Well, they don't have to. They're giving out the money for it. Just saying.
I know. I'm going to try to reach out to enough folks and write it in enough way that they understand that this really is a safety issue, because I consider that it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We have families living in apartment buildings that are on a road where the number of speeding tickets the town passes out on that road just eclipse anything they pass out anywhere else. So the issue's real.
Yep,
okay.
I get it.
All right.
Okay,
so,
I will proceed. I don't know if you want to vote a general support or whatever. I'm satisfied right now. So.
And as I understand it, Cindy, you're going to bring a actual proposed grant application back for approval by the board, right? Is that?
Right. These require a resolution of the board to be submitted with the application. So I will at least have, the whole resolution, whether I have the whole application with all of its support letters, I don't know, Jerry, but I'll have the basic application. And I'd like to, I have a sample of the resolution letters we've done on other things, but.
That's good.
But yes, because that's the 25th. The grant application is due February 4th, which sounds like a ways away, but in my mind, it's tomorrow. And they say they're going to make their decisions by, they hope, the first or second week in April. So that's nice, because that would sort of tell us where we are.
So for a consensus, really the consensus of the board, as I understand it, is to authorize Cindy to go ahead and commence preparation of that grant application, and I will work with her to develop the resolution supporting that the board can consider at its January 25th meeting.
Okay.
No objections?
Wonderful.
No objections. Okay.
No objections. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay. And town administrator candidate review.
Yeah. Well, December 31st came and went, and as I indicated, we received 8 applications for the position for town administrator. Mary and I met the Monday after. I had spent all weekend reviewing the applications and putting together some comments. for Mary to consider. And so we met that Monday afternoon after I'd gotten to town, and we discussed quite a bit. Actually, it was a good conversation. I hope Mary thinks so also. And yeah, and I think we came to the resolution that of the 8 that we received, that probably 2, in accordance with the selection survey that the board and staff had done, really were closely resembling the criteria that were contained in the job description, the advertisement for the position. And well, that's wonderful that we had 2. The problem lies in the fact that moving forward, as I put in my memorandum, we'd like quite a few more than that for the semifinalist round, because truthfully, by the time you get to the finalist round, you're going to have lost half. And then by the time you name finalists and you get to the point in time and doing interviews, you're going to lose another half. And so we're down to a -10 by the time we get to the interviews, without more applicants that are qualified for the position. So short and sweet, Mary and I have made the recommendation, and I've included it in your packet, an alternate timeline that would begin starting tonight, with advertisements probably going in most places by tomorrow, or at least by the end of the week, with a cutoff date 3 weeks from Friday, which would be February 11th. Now you'll see by the timeline that that would put somebody in. You'd make a hiring decision before I got out of here, but that would be putting somebody in place 2 weeks after I'm already home and happily farming. Thank you.
No, we're planning a late snow, so you aren't going anywhere.
There you go. Snow me in or snow me out, one of the two. But
There you go.
I'll take it either way, truthfully, if it's got snow involved. But so anyway, but I think, as Mary and I talked about, there's ways to make that happen. Usually, once the hiring decision has been made by the board and candidate, there's coming or on the way, then I usually spend the last couple of weeks just preparing to transition and doing some, some follow through stuff, and not any real legitimate things that, hopefully all the emergencies and the fires are put out by that time, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that something can be worked out. So don't let that timeline make you nervous. If we get into another round past this, then I'd start getting nervous. But so I'm okay with the timeline and would recommend that you approve it. Mary and I wanted to talk about, and she can pop in here if she thinks I'm leading you astray. 2 things that we discussed and would like your thoughts on was, she wanted to know, since we had 20 people or so request application packets, why did we only receive 8? Was there something wrong? And truthfully, that's based on that many asking for packets, that's not a bad number to have, although I had expected that we would have had well over 10 to 15 applicants for the position. So maybe it is a little bit low. But I think the point of Mary's discussion was, and we had this when we decided to advertise for the position, are we offering enough money? And, that's the crux of everybody's argument. But my rebuttal was that this wasn't the money that you were going to pay a seasoned veteran who'd come to Georgetown, stayed for a while, and proved themselves. This was an initial salary range of $100,000 to $119,000, which is not chump change. And if you remember, when you all made that decision, I gave you some benchmarks of some communities that were currently advertising, so that you could feel more comfortable with that number. So what I agreed to was to, again, try to benchmark your number, again, keep in mind 100 to 119, with some other communities that are currently advertising at the time. And right now it's pretty slim. There's only Gilpin County manager that just came up, and they're advertising 139 to 160. And the only other community right now is Telluride down the Four Corners, which is 145 to 195. And if their cost of living is just insane down there. So what I did was I get on the CLM website, and when I was president, we went to a digital format for salary surveys. And so I was able to get onto their website with the data that they have and look at some communities that may be similar in nature that you would expect that would be comparable to Georgetown, either in adjacency or region wise or in size, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of factors that go into that. I don't have the hour to take you time through that. So I started out with Idaho Springs. So Idaho Springs salary range for a position of town administrator is 105 to 147, but the current manager is only making 108. If you go to Salida, which I'm familiar with because I was there when we set that salary range, it was 97 to 146. That manager's been there for a few years and he's making 117. Pagosa Springs, over just on the other side of the hill from South Fork, is 99 to 143, paying 105 at this point in time. Cripple Creek, which we talked about the last time because they were advertising to 150, which is interesting because their salary range is 96 to 130. The last manager, who didn't last very long, was only making 108. Buena Vista is 88 to 120, and they're currently making 116. Grand Lake, it didn't have a salary range posted, but they're making 95. Minturn didn't have a salary range posted, but they're at 108. If you get to Winter Park, their salary range is 146 to 219, making 155, and Granby is 95 to 130, making 125,000. So I don't think we're that far off, folks, for a starting salary. Mary, I don't know if you want to kick in because I didn't share these numbers with you this weekend. I'm sorry, but
No, that's okay. But we had talked about Gilpin and Telluride because after Steve and I met, we talked about different advertising strategies. I jumped on ICMA website just to see how easy it would be if I were in the position to be looking for a town admin and saw the Gilpin and Telluride. And I was concerned, especially with Gilpin being so close to us, even though it's a county and we're only a town, Gilpin's a small community, and they were offering, a wider range. And so with these numbers that Steve has just shared with all of us, even though the actual salary amounts that our other town admins are receiving, I wonder if we might not be sweetening the pie a little bit by just increasing our range, therefore opening up the door to show some potential for, salary increases down the line so that we don't look like we're shortchanging ourselves from the beginning. That's one of my concerns with salary. If somebody comes in and wows the whatever off of us, we'd certainly like to be able to attract that person. I also think as far as advertising, maybe we need to step up our game and not only just step out, what we're looking for as the town admin, but why the heck would you want to be here in Georgetown? If someone is a little bit unfamiliar, but they really want to relocate to Colorado, why aren't we selling Colorado and Georgetown? So, I wonder if we just need to market ourselves a little bit more flamboyantly. We're a neat place. So, are we touting our stuff? But anyway, I would be open for us to suggest at least increasing that top number and opening up the range, just for whatever.
Okay. All right. Yes. Rich.
I've done 6 interviews this last week, and I couldn't get anybody to interview for positions that I advertised end of November, December. But now I'm getting a lot of folks and a lot of interest. But what I'm finding is that people see the salary range and there's an assumption that they are so good that they should be paid just about the maximum salary. And when you do that, then you find people that ghost, or you spend a lot of time in interviewing and giving them tours and getting them their information. And then what we see is we're getting ghosted if we don't give them at least close to the maximum of that range. So that's one of the dangers of doing that people may go through the whole process, and if they don't get $140,000, then they're not going to take the job.
Good point. Yeah, if you bump up that top figure, then you better be prepared to offer up to that, seriously. So, yeah.
If they're
Any
that
other-
good though, if they're that good, then maybe they're worth it, you know, and I don't know if
Possibly.
that's what's, I don't know if that's what's held back our candidate pool. Maybe it was the holiday. We certainly aren't or we certainly aren't in a position of, you know, high employment. Everyone's out looking for a job. But it's one more thing.
I would
Yep.
say, Mary, if you guys, if we decide to raise the range, raise the bottom and the top sum both, if we're gonna do that.
I just want to make sure that we're competitive with Gilpin, especially because if Gilpin's only a county of 6,000 and we're a town of 1,000 and they're offering, you know, what, 10, 20,000 more to start?
Yeah.
I
I think
139.
the big difference is Gilpin's got a heck of a lot of gaming.
I know that, but
They gotta pay.
maybe we'll take second string Gilpin. You know, maybe the same guy that's looking at Gilpin is like, hey, you know what? I can go work for Georgetown for a couple of years and then da 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 da. Because and that again, Steve and I were talking about this, and I think we all need to realize this. You know, the average time that a city admin is on the job is usually like 3 to 5 years. And so people,
Right.
we could very well be doing this again. You know, and that's just the way it is. So let's get somebody good for the years that we have them and see what we do next time.
Understood. Okay, good points. Any other thoughts or feelings, comments? Yes, John.
Yeah, I think go ahead and push up the number. I mean, it seems like it just sweetens the pool a little bit. Also, it'll be neat to see what happens after the holiday season and see if, you know, maybe that was affecting it as well, but never hurts to offer a little bit more.
So with that in mind, if most everybody's supportive of it, what are we shooting at for numbers?
129.
Do I hear 135? I mean, it doesn't hurt to offer it. And if it came down to that person who really wanted it and we really wanted them and they wanted top dollar.
I agree
then
with
it's a
you. It's
win-win.
really hard to get people in here because of
Yeah.
housing and other concerns.
I mean, we're not cheap either. Yeah.
Yeah. I did hear, I think it was in an article in the Denver Post that Henderson Climax is offering a $9,000 housing stipend and a signing bonus to try and draw new employees because they're not having any luck filling open positions. So just tossing that out there as a thought. So whatever the board decides consensus wise, I would go with. I'd be content with 129, 135, either one.
We're not writing the check yet. I would go
Right.
higher. I would stick with 135. You know, that way at least we're close in line with Gilpin. We know we don't have that same revenue base, but it's open for negotiation.
That's true.
I would be fine with 135. I say we need to move. We need to get this thing done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so we can cover that particular aspect of it when we approve the new hiring timeline, then just include that increase on the salary range for consideration. I think the other thing that Mary and I had talked about, and I'm sort of jaded on this one, but I've been doing it for a while. So, but I understand her concern, and that is, are we getting enough exposure with our advertisements to meet the group of people that we want to apply for the position? And historically, and I did talk to KRW that does do headhunting, and got their take on this. The last time we advertised with ICMA, which cost us, it was a discount because I'm a member, $450, I think. So we'll have that cost again, and then CML, obviously. And for the people in the business, those are the two go-to places. But in deference to Mary, I talked to Sam Mamet, who's with KRW, or he's retired now, I think, finally, about reaching out to other area municipal leagues. We did that in Holly. We actually advertised in the Kansas Municipal League for Holly. It yielded zero. We weren't able to advertise in Oklahoma. They only allow members to advertise. And so Mary thought, and I don't disagree with her, why can't we maybe approach the Western states because of the similarities and in concerns about water and stuff like that, which is important to Georgetown. And so I did get in with the Utah Municipal League, and they will let us advertise on their website. They actually had a couple of Colorado jobs for planner, I think it was. I contacted the Arizona League of Cities. They'll let non-members advertise for $50, but New Mexico, Wyoming said no. The other possibility that we can get for free is CCCMA. That's the Colorado City County Managers Association, which would get us into, they are really heavy into the newer managers, emerging leaders programs and stuff like that. So that would give us a different dynamic than just CML. And then the other one that I liked that Mary brought up is that, if we're wanting somebody with a background, why don't we talk to the colleges that do master's programs? And I thought that was good. It might be a little difficult to accomplish, but there may be a shortcut to that may be just as effective, because the state of Colorado, through the Department of Local Affairs, has its best and brightest programs. And most of the MBA or Masters of Public Administration degrees that are done in Colorado here in the last quite a few years are going through that program. And so my thought, and I ran it by Sam Mamet to see if he agreed, would be to let all the regional DOLO reps, which there's a bunch, know that we're re-advertising this position and keep their ears open, because they are always in contact, not only with the managers, but the communities throughout the state of Colorado. And so that may be a good way. And they're also aware of who the best and brightest students are, because they're required to mentor those students through the program. So I thought that was a good idea. And I think that this is a reasonable alternative, hopefully, to Mary's idea to try to reach out to peoples with the MPAs. The other things that I did check was, the Special District Association has, a jobs board, but they won't let anything but members into that. And then Colorado counties will not allow municipal advertisements, just like the, unlike CML, but the Colorado counties won't allow municipal advertisements. So we're sort of out there. The only other thing that I had to was the private advertising, which, you see the advertisements on TV. I think you're reaching out to a broad group and might be spending an awful lot of time reviewing applicants from a lot of folks that have no qualifications or experience in municipal government. But just for an example, I could probably do it. I haven't done this before, so I can't guarantee it, but I could probably get us tied into about 100 of those different sites throughout the country, supposedly, for about $129 for a 20-day advertisement, if we wanted to accomplish that. I talked to Sam about that. He says they've done some of that sometimes, but absolutely no positive result out of it. So I'll take your comments and to heart, whatever you might want to tell me tonight when I start posting these advertisements tomorrow. But I thought maybe you should have some of that information. Mary might want to add more to what I had comment-wise.
Deanne, go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
What about other states that kind of focus on skiing, like Vermont and New Hampshire, maybe even Maine? That seems like the kind of people that would be comfortable here, as opposed to other places are going to be city folks that aren't, going to be a good fit.
One of the reasons Steve and I talked about more of the western states too is because we think, and I had brought up water. You
Yeah.
come from the East Coast, you come from the Midwest where I come from, water, we had Lake Michigan, those aren't issues. I think the western, I think all of us here, we know it, I'm not gonna go on and on and on about how unique we are. And so, do we want Steve to go through every 50 states or every one of the 50 states? And try to find those. I think the broader range that he's just offered to us tonight, the pool between, if it's Utah, Arizona, I don't know about California or Washington, but I wouldn't exclude any of those guys. Who knows? Somebody can come down from Yellowstone, but and then with the universities and stuff, I'm gun shy on somebody fresh out of school who has no experience, but I also want to say, and Steve and I discussed this at great length, there might be a budding town administrator who has had extensive work within a town in a different community or within different towns in different leadership positions, who has then decided to pursue more of a overall public admin type position. And we might catch some of those who, either came out a couple of years ago and they're still looking or whatever.
Sure.
But I think we're growing our pool so much by what he just shared with us tonight. And we can't waste time doing, I'm not sure about the $129 offer, but on the other thing, the private sector, but I think we're opening up more opportunities.
Well, and I
Right.
think, Deanne, one of the other thing, and the rest of the board members too, is that all the other 49 states, if you're looking for work in public administration, you go to ICMA, because you're normally a member, whether internationally. I've had international applicants before. And so if you're from Vermont or from Maine, you're going to be checking out ICMA rather than throwing a pitch out there and get a bunch of applicants from people that really don't even know where Georgetown is, except maybe where that famous college basketball team is from. So I'm not quite sure that would be as effective. And as Mary stated, I'm not quite sure I've got it in me to go to all the different municipal leagues to find out if they'd let us advertise.
What about checking in with one of the big historical societies like Colorado's or something?
I don't know.
I don't know that you're going to get
that's going to yield you
administrators.
much.
Yeah.
I just don't think so. It's an important component.
I don't like Arizona, just saying.
Yeah.
Utah sounds cool because they're like us, sort of,
Yeah.
But
so
I'm not real interested in paying the $50, especially, like I say, if I'm in Holly and I can't get anybody from Kansas interested in Eastern Colorado, and we paid $150 for the advertisement and we got buckets out of it, that just isn't an economical use of our funds. And so I'd like to just proceed on with what we can get for free, do a little more outreach with regard to the Department of Local Affairs, etc. One of the other things that Mary and I talked about, because I wanted to get her perspective, is that, when you hire these big headhunting firms, and it's not Steve Robbie Inc., that's for sure. You get these, you pay $35,000 and $40,000 for these headhunters like Manitou Springs. Those guys come in with a list of candidates already pre-screened. And so, KRW does not do that, but there are some national firms that will do a lot of that if you want to pay the money. But I'm not quite sure that's where you guys are at. I tend
that
to
doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of money to spend. And so I don't recommend that. The other part is that I intentionally do not reach out to folks. I know a lot of people, but I don't reach out to folks because I don't want them to think that they'll have preferential.
It's 7
It's 7 o'clock. He froze. He'll be back.
And we did talk about that, and he asked me
Right.
that, and we just don't, that's not a comfortable feeling for me personally, because I do think someone could make that easy assumption. Oh, well, I got a good in here. So
Right.
Steve did ask that. I'm just
Talked about as far as reaching out in these different avenues, acceptable enough for you guys for this round, and see where we're at. Oh, it's 7:00. I'm falling apart.
Yes,
No.
you did. You already froze and came back.
I'm
Yes.
back again already.
And you-
Congratulations.
Yes.
I said wonderful things while you guys were offline.
Agree with every word of it.
Okay.
I'd kick in the $50 though and advertise with Arizona, to be
Yeah.
quite honest. I would, let's fork out the extra 50 and do Arizona.
Okay.
If we're talking skiing, they got skiing there. It's not as
Sure.
good as us, but I don't want to exclude something. I mean,
Close
$50 is chump
possibilities.
change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will do
Seems
that,
reasonable to me.
and we'll see where we go. I do agree. Although, customarily we don't see that there's a lack of interest through the holidays, but man, it was crickets, and it was crickets in a bunch of places that I was aware of too. So,
Interesting.
and I think Rich, you've already indicated you saw that same thing. So let's see what this
Okay.
round pulls. It's 3 weeks, so it's pretty condensed, but if somebody really is interested and you've piqued their
Well,
interest
it's
with an additional possibility of pay, you never can tell. Might be just the thing to get this thing over the hump. So I guess the next thing, Lynette, would be for the board to approve the revised
Motion.
hiring timeline, as well as the bump in the upper range of the salary range.
I'll make
Okay.
I'll make the
Go ahead.
motion. I move to approve
ahead,
the new
John.
hiring. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, please.
I move to approve the new hiring timeline for the town administrator position. I also move that we change the salary range up to 135.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
to 135.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the new hiring timeline for the town administrator's position as presented, and to increase the salary range to 135,000. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, next we have a master agreement for information technology services. I think, Steve, you're still on.
I'm still on. Probably will be for the rest of the show. So anyway, as you guys are aware, the current IT services contract that the town has with Platte River set to expire the 1st of February. So I had Mary reach out. She probably did it before I got here. I don't remember. Yeah, she did, because it was October. She reached out to a couple of vendors to solicit proposals for the continuation of those services. And we received not only a proposal from Platte River, but one from Axiom. And Axiom, in case you couldn't read it and understand what I said, was actually the original owners of Platte River before they sold. They formed their own company, and one of their current clients, which is good for us, is Clear Creek County. And so they're in town often. So anyway, reviewed both those proposals, found them very similar in nature, except for the price. Actually, our Platte River, I think, quite truthfully, has given us the message that they really do think we're pretty small potatoes. They can make their business elsewhere in bigger clients in the metro area, and I understand how that works. And so in reviewing that and realizing the price difference was something substantial, given the fact that the services would be very similar, if not better, from Axiom. Staff brought in Axiom to discuss some issues we had with regard to potential for transition issues, which they don't foresee some. And now that I see as we're moving forward, there are no transition issues that we would expect. The Platte River and Axiom are playing very nicely with regard to giving us the information we need to make that changeover. I think Axiom is very proactive with regard to a number of issues that maybe was lacking at Platte River, just saying. And so I had Axiom put together their standard agreement, which also includes their proposal as an exhibit. And I will tell you that all my years in IT, I think that this is a really good proposal. I think it is very complete. I think that they'll give us the in-person contact that this town needs and deserves for IT services, as well as taking us forward in a proactive method. So I'm very happy to recommend that you guys approve I think Lynette's signature on the agreement for IT services with Axiom of Evergreen, Colorado.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments on this?
What happens
Okay.
if we get a major, like breach or one of the, every once in a while you hear about a company or town getting held hostage by,
Yeah, it happened to me. It happened to Slider right after I left, and it was with a company that had a guy with the highest rating federal security clearance that there was. So it does happen, and it was this point of discussion that I had with Axiom because I am concerned about it. Again, my years in IT, and I believe that they're very proactive. There's adequate backups that are preserved offsite to be able to restore services almost immediately with nothing more than a laptop and a login. And so I'm pretty comfortable that they're as prepared as, or more prepared as anybody else is to meet and be able to take care of any future threats. In fact, one of the things that we're working on right now is that our agreement for our firewall services is due to expire. And so in order to be proactive on our part, I'm having Axiom bid us a new firewall that'll be more compliant with the new standards of the day, rather than be a service technical problem from the old equipment that we have currently. So I have no concerns there any more than I would with anybody else.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? There is a motion in your packet if anybody would like to make it.
I will. I move to award the contract for IT services to Axiom of Evergreen, Colorado, and authorize Police Judge Kelsey to sign the master agreement for information technology services, including the statement of work outlining the services to be provided.
Second. Too slow,
That
Mary.
sounded like, that sounded, well,
John can have it.
okay, it did sound like a second from John to me, so. It
You
is.
gotta be
has
fast
been-
in this business.
Okay, I'm waiting for
You gotta
Rich to
be
jump
fast.
in, you know?
It's been moved and seconded to award the contract for IT services to Axiom Evergreen and authorize Police Judge Kelsey to sign the master agreement for information technology services, including the statement of work outlining the services to be provided. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. And last action item on our agenda is selection of contractor for the 22nd Street Bridge rail post project.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, and I think the board had resolved themselves to the fact that it was in the best interest of the town to pursue having a third party install those rails on the 22nd Street Bridge. So the board had requested, because of the amount of the proposal that they had received, to seek out and see if we could get some competitive ideas on pricing. Unfortunately, we weren't successful in that, as you can see referenced in our bid tab sheet. We did approach 3 contractors that do bridge work. The only response we really got was from Lawrence, and they were very gracious in thanking us for considering them, but they said they're just too busy to be able to respond to a project of this size and nature. Basically had Buckley go back and redo their proposal to represent the fact that they've already been paid for some of the work that we needed to get done in preparation for the installation of the bridge rails and bridge posts. And so he has done so. That's takes that price down to $72,000. I guess, you know, two things I need to point out, and I know the price is high. It's scary, but I think Cindy, Neely, and the guys that are working on some of the Strauss Park recalculations for prices will tell you that the costs are just outrageous. And you know, we had $72,000, $185 for a turnkey project, of which $10,000 is for contingency that I'm not quite sure is going to be necessary, but it's nice to have there. And $9,000 is for reimbursement for the use of a crane. So you take $19,000 off that price, almost $20,000, you're down to $52,000. If that's any consolation, I guess that's not a half bad price. It'd be nice to have a representative price from another company to use as a comparative quote. I just wasn't able to get it, so I apologize. I've done everything I can, put together your RFP and specifications and et cetera, and it just didn't yield what I had hoped it yield. So
Sure.
I defer to what the board's opinion is with regard to moving forward.
Yes, John.
I mean, I think we just needed to do due diligence. It wasn't that we necessarily didn't agree with the bid in any way, shape, or form. You know, we knew that it was going to be expensive with the crane and the other aspects of it. But I feel better having flown it, and now we can go forward with this bid. In my mind, feeling like we protected the town's money.
Yeah, you couldn't have done anything more, John. I can agree with that.
Any other comments or concerns from the board? Okay. There is a recommended motion in the packet if someone would like to make it.
Oh, heck, I'll make it. I move to award the 22nd Street Bridge Rail Post project to Buckley LLC of Idaho Springs, Colorado, for a not to exceed amount of $72,185. Further included in the motion is the authorization for the police judge Kelsey to sign an agreement for the services with Buckley LLC once said agreement has been drafted by the interim town administrator and signed by the vendor.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the award of the 22nd Street Bridge Rail Post project to Buckley LLC of Idaho Springs, Colorado. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, staff items, interim administrators report.
Well, I have submitted a written report to the board and as well as the updated task list, so I can answer any questions. But I have an issue with regard to snow removal on private roadways. I need to bring up to the board to confirm that we're still on the same page. Back in 2018, the board was given an issue with regard to snow removal on 3rd Street, a portion of which is been vacated and is now a private road. And at that time in 2018, the board made the decision that the town would only be responsible for plowing the public portion of that street, while acknowledging the fact that in order to do so, that the town equipment would have to at least back up onto the private portion of that road. And since that point, I believe that the town has held true and firm to that board decision. with regard to snow removal on that road. However, the issue, pardon me, the issue has arisen again from a person that lives on that road and has lived on that road for quite some time. Very unhappy that the town is not maintaining and doing snow removal on the private portion of 3rd Street, including sanding, et cetera, which obviously, as I stated, the board had suggested that we won't do. And that actually had said that the property owners on that private portion need to do as all other private property owners on a private road and get somebody to come in and plow their roads. Apparently that hasn't been done. So I guess I'm just needing reaffirmation from the board members that your direction in 2018 is still valid, and that we can inform this person the next time they decide to come down and yell at staff, that that was your decision and will continue to be your decision. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
What do you think, Mary? You were around.
I know, I was. So were you. I think we stand by that. There's private roads and there's public roads, and we maintain our public roads, and stand by it.
Yeah, there's some liability issues and everything else that you put forth by turning the other direction, I will say.
There was a risk in that particular area, not unlike other private areas, as far as, the safety of our vehicles and the operators of those vehicles. If the property owners wanted to make it public, they could go to great extremes to do so and make it compliant with what we require. So I'm sorry, it's a hard sell, but
I agree.
or it's a hard no.
Does this property owner know the rules that that's their private property, so they're responsible for it?
Yes, I think they're fully aware. They've been there. I believe somebody told me she'd been there for 40 years. So she was around at the point in time this discussion was had. And so it happens. These matters arise all the time when, a lot of times when somebody new like myself comes on board, they think they can try something new, but we have to go back to what was true tried and not just, do what your heart tugs may tell you to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think particularly, you also start setting precedent for if we're going to do it on this private road, what other private roads are people going to want you to do it? And pretty soon you're doing every road. And, frankly, we don't have the personnel or we just can't do that. We've got to stick with just the public roads. So. Any other comments? Yes, Rich?
I just wanted to say that this last storm, the crews were out there and they were out there till past midnight and they did a really good job. So they should be commended. And yeah, I think you set a precedent if you start doing private property.
Yeah. I think the one exception was they had a water leak over by the post office, which complicated snow removal in the area and made a disaster. However, in their defense, I drove through downtown Breckenridge coming into town yesterday. And I'll tell you what, if you didn't have 4-wheel drive and didn't have both hands on the wheel, you didn't know where you were going to end up driving down that road.
Oh, dear.
Bummer.
All right. Okay, sounds like we are in agreement. I didn't hear anybody chiming in with opposing viewpoint, so you're on the right track, Steve. Thank you.
And Deanne didn't speak up, so she must have a separate issue. So Deanne, just email me, let me know, and I'll find out Tuesday, and I'll let you know back.
Okay.
And I didn't have anything else to report, but I can answer any questions or et cetera.
Okay. As everybody probably knows, under the COVID update, the Omicron is spreading fast and hasn't peaked yet, to my knowledge. They're hoping that it does fairly soon, but who knows? And hospitalizations are up, but they don't seem to be as severe, but the hospital capacity is being pushed to its limits, not just because of numbers of beds, but the staffing, because the staff is coming down with the virus. So, and it's spreading through the schools. I don't know how the Clear Creek County schools are keeping it so contained and are able to stay in person class and in-person instruction, but bravo to them. So be safe, be healthy, do what you can. Anybody else have
Is the bank
anything?
open yet?
I have no idea.
Because it was closed from the Monday before Christmas and all last week. I haven't checked yet this week.
Oh, okay.
And closed because of Omicron.
All branches?
Nope, our branch.
Just ours.
We
Okay.
could go to the drive up down in Idaho Springs, but not, you know, ours was closed.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for the under staff items? Yes, Deanne.
I want to know who the two guys were that didn't respond to the poll that Steve put out, because there's only
Oh.
4 columns. There's not 6.
That's all right. He got what he needed.
Yeah, I will say that I think, and Mary looked at it briefly, I do think that some of the items that you guys had in the selection survey were telling and beneficial, especially when we did the first look-see through, and I'll do a little more analysis before we move forward, especially if we do get a set of finalists or semifinalists. So I appreciate both you and staff doing that. And it's sort of nice to see when the numbers sort of line up, because I've been other places where they're all over the board and you can't get anything of it. But this is a useful tool for us moving forward.
Very good. Very good. Okay. If we don't have anything else, it is 7:22 p.m. and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been
Go,
moved and
Mary.
seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thanks so much. Have
Good
a
night,
great
everybody.
evening.
Hi, guys.
Take
See you
care.
guys.
Thanks, Steve.